Okay, so essentially, out of this section, what we need to talk about, we don't need to talk about the whole section, but we do need to talk about dividing polynomials. Okay, so of dividing polynomials, let's kind of review long division of integers, because it may have been a long time since you guys have done that. So this is an example. Let's divide 842 by 15. Okay? So we have 842. We're going to divide that by 15. So 15 will not go into 8, but it will go into 84, and it'll go into 84 5 times. Then we turn around and we multiply 5 by 15, and we get 75. And then we subtract, and our result is 9. Then we bring down the 2, and 15 will go into 92 6 times. When we multiply 15 by 6, we will get 90, and then we find the difference, which is 2. So you could say that the answer is 56 with a remainder of 2. You could say it that way. Also, you could say that what we found was that 842 divided by 15 is equal to 56 plus the remainder of 2/15. Okay, so this is another way that you can say it. Now, alternatively, you could multiply both sides by 15, in which case you would have 842 is equal to 56 times 15 plus 2. So in this form, you can see that the dividend is equal to the quotient times the divisor plus the remainder. Okay? So these are two identical ways that you can express this information that we found by doing long division. Okay, so that being said, now let's talk about how to divide polynomials. It's going to be the same kind of process. So the goal is to find the quotient and remainder when 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus x plus 7 is divided by x squared plus 1. Okay, so that's going to be our goal. So let's set this up. We have 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus x plus 7, and we're going to divide this by x squared plus 1. So here's what we have to do. We have to say, okay, well, what times x squared would give us 3x cubed? Okay, it turns out that this is going to be 3x, right? 3x. So 3x, now we're going to turn around and we're going to multiply by the dividend. I'm sorry, by the divisor. Yeah, I'm sorry. So, yeah, I'm sorry. So now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. This is the divisor. This is the dividend. Sorry. So that being said, now we're going to take 3x and we're going to multiply it by our divisor, which is 3x cubed. So it's got to be this exact same thing. If it's not the exact same thing that it is above it, then you made a mistake. So when we multiply 3x by x squared, we would get 3x cubed, and then when we take 3x and we multiply it by 1, we're going to get plus 3x. And so we would put the plus 3x, we're going to line it up with the x so that these are lined up properly. Now what we're going to do is we're going to subtract. So what I recommend you do since you're subtracting this second polynomial, I recommend you change all of these signs to kind of help keep everything, you know, on an even keel. So you can see that you have 3x cubed minus 3x cubed, or you could say plus negative 3x cubed, that's going to be 0x cubes. Then you have 4x squared, you could say minus 0x squareds, so you're still going to have 4x squared. Now you have x plus negative, or you could say minus 3x, so that's now going to be a negative 2x. And then you have this plus 7, you could say minus 0, which it's just plus 7. Okay? All right, so now we need to do this same process again. We'd say, well, what times x squared will give me 4x squared? The answer is 4. So we're going to say plus 4. So now 4 times x squared is going to be 4x squared. 4 times 1 will be 4. And now we need to subtract again, so I would change all your signs. We have 4x squared minus 4x squared is 0x squareds. We have negative 2x minus 0x's, so we have minus 2x. And then we have 7 minus 4, that's going to be plus 3. Okay. So at this point, what you would do is you'd say, okay, well, what do I need to multiply x squared by to give me negative 2x? Well, now you'd have to multiply it by like 1 over x or something like that. And we only want to do this in terms of polynomials itself. So now, that being said, we found the quotient, and we could say that the remainder is negative 2x plus 3. That this whole thing is the remainder. This whole thing is the remainder. Okay? So that means that what we found is we found that 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus x plus 7 divided by x squared plus 1 is equal to 3x plus 4 plus the remainder of negative 2x plus 3 over x squared plus 1. Now, alternatively, you could also say that you found that 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus x plus 7, which is the dividend, is equal to the quotient, which is 3x plus 4, times the divisor, which was x squared plus 1, plus the remainder, which is negative 2x plus 3. Okay? So this is an alternative way that you can say it. The bottom line is that this problem asked us to find the quotient and the remainder. So we can say that the quotient is the 3x plus 4, and the remainder is the negative 2x plus 3. All right? Okay, and you can always check it by remultiplying. If you were to multiply these two together with like FOIL or something and then combine these like terms, then you should get 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus x plus 7 if you did everything correctly. Okay. So now let's go through another example. So this says we want to find the quotient. And the remainder when x to power 4 minus 3x cubed plus 2x minus 5 is divided by x squared minus x plus 1. Okay, so let's set this up. We have x to power 4 minus 3x cubed plus 2x minus 5. And we're going to divide this by x squared minus x plus 1. Okay, so we have to say, well, what what, when we multiply it by x squared, will give us x to the power 4. That's going to be x squared. So x squared times x squared is x to the power 4. And then x squared times negative x is a negative x cubed. And then x squared times 1 is going to be x squared. So as a matter of fact, I didn't write this way, but the original dividend, I'm going to write it with a space here. So I'm going to write plus 0x squared and then plus 2x minus 5. So this is the same as this. It's still x to the power 4 minus 3x cubed plus 2x minus 5. All right, so now that I have that written that way, then everything's going to line up properly. Let me just kind of start this over to make sure you guys are on the same page. Okay, start this fresh. So to start this off, what we're going to have to do is we have to multiply. We have to say, well, what times x squared gives us x to the power 4? The answer is going to be x squared. So x squared times x squared is x to the power 4. X squared times negative x is negative x cubed. X squared times 1 is x squared. So positive x squared. Now what we're going to do is we're going to subtract, so we're going to change all of our signs. And now we're going to just add down. So x squared plus negative, x to the power 4 plus negative x to the power 4 is 0 x to the power 4s. We have a negative 3x cubed, and we're going to add x cubed to it, so we're going to have a negative 2x cubed. Then we have a 0x squared minus an x squared. That's going to be a negative x squared. And then the rest of these you can just bring down, or you could say, you know, it's like subtracting 0 from each one, but the point is it's kind of like what we did in long division. We're just going to bring this down. So this is plus 2x minus 5. Okay, and now we're going to go through the process again. We're going to say, okay, well, what do I need to multiply x squared by to give me negative 2x cubed? Well, I need to multiply it by negative 2x. So negative 2x times x squared is going to give me negative 2x cubed. The negative 2x times negative x is going to give me a positive 2x squared. The negative 2x times 1 is going to give me a negative 2x. And then I'm just going to, then I have like plus 0, So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract, which means I'm going to change all the signs. And so now negative 2x cubed plus 2x cubed is 0x cubes. We have a negative x squared minus a 2x squared, that's a negative 3x squared. Then we have 2x plus 2x, that's going to be 4x. And then remember, you can just bring this down, or you could say you're subtracting 0 from it, but the point is you still have a minus 5. Okay, now what would we need to multiply x squared by to give us negative 3x squared? We would need to multiply a negative 3 by x squared. So negative 3 times x squared is going to give us negative 3x squared. The negative 3 times a negative x is going to give us a plus 3x. And then a negative 3 times 1 is going to give us negative 3. So now we're going to subtract. So I'm going to change all my signs. And I have 0x squareds. And then I have 4x minus 3x's is going to give me just a single x. And then I have a negative 5 plus 3, that's going to be a minus 2, or a negative 2. Okay, and at this point, once your polynomial in your remainder is a degree less than the polynomial that was in your divisor, then you're done. You can just, even if you didn't maybe even realize that you were done or something like that, you'd say, well, what would I multiply x by to give me x, or I'm sorry, what would I multiply x squared by, to give me x? Well, you would have to multiply x squared by like a 1 over x to give you x. And we don't want to multiply by 1 over a polynomial. We want to multiply by a polynomial. So that means that this is a remainder of x minus 2. Okay, this whole thing is our remainder. So what we found that x to the power 4 minus 3x cubed plus 2x minus 5. When you divide it by x squared minus x plus 1, what you get is x squared minus 2x minus 3 plus the remainder of x minus 2 over x squared minus x plus 1. Okay, so this is one way to write it, or you could say that the dividend, which is x to the power 4 minus 3x cubed plus 2x minus 5 is equal to the quotient, which is x squared minus 2x minus 3, times the divisor, which was x squared minus x plus 1, plus the remainder, which is x minus 2. Okay, either way, the original problem just said find the quotient and the remainder. So in this form, it's kind of nice because you can easily tell that the quotient is x squared minus 2x minus 3, not plus 3, minus 3, and the remainder is x minus 2. Okay? So let's go through some more examples. I'll do a couple more. This is problem number, let me see. Okay. This is problem number 90 on page 49 in your book, and this is in review section 4, so R.4. So number 90, it says find the quotient and remainder and this, I can probably not capitalize it. I can probably just write it as a, as a quotient and the remainder. Okay, and these are going to be the directions for all these problems. So number 90, it says we have 3x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 2, and that's all divided by x plus 2. Okay, so we need to divide these. Alright, so let's go through the process. We have 3x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 2, and we're going to divide it by x plus 2. What do I need to multiply x by to give me 3x cubed? I need to multiply a 3x squared by it. 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. 3x squared times 2 is going to give me 6x squared. Now I'm going to change all my signs, and I'm going to add down, and I'm going to have 0, and this is going to be negative 7x squared, and then this you can bring down, and it's going to be plus x minus 2. Okay, what do I need to multiply negative 7x squared by to give me, what do I need to multiply x by? So it's always the divisor. So what do I need to multiply x by to give me negative 7x squared? I need to multiply it by a negative 7x. Negative 7x times x would be negative 7x squared. Negative 7x times 2 would give me a negative 14x. So now I'm going to change all my signs, and I'm going to add down. I'm going to have 0x squared, so I'm going to have 15x minus 2, okay, because I'm just bringing this down. So now what do I need to multiply x by to give me 15x? That's going to be 15. So 15 times x is going to give me 15x, and 15 times 2 is going to give me 30. And now I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to add down, and this is negative 32. This is negative 32. So that's going to be your remainder. Your remainder is negative 32. So we found that 3x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 2. And remember, that's the dividend divided by the divisor, and is equal to 3x squared minus 7x plus 15, and then minus 32 over the divisor, which was x plus 2. Alternatively, you could say that this is 3x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 2, that this is equal to 3x squared minus 7x plus 15 times x plus 2 minus 32. So the point is we found the quotient. The quotient is 3x squared minus 7x plus 15, and the remainder is negative 32. Okay, well, let's do another example. Same directions as this problem, and let's do number 92 on the same page in the same section. It says we have 3x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 2, and we're dividing it by x squared. This one's actually one you could do relatively easily because you don't even really need to use long division on this one. You could just say that this is 3x cubed over x squared minus x squared over x squared plus, and then you can see that x minus 2 over x squared is going to have to be the remainder. I mean, because if you divide that out, then you're going to get rational. You're going to have rational terms in this. So then this is going to have to just be 3x minus 1 plus x minus 2 over x squared. So you can already kind of tell that the quotient is 3x minus 1, and the remainder is x minus 2. But if you didn't notice that, then you could do this with long division as well. You could say that this is, you have 3x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 2, and this is being divided by x squared. So you could say, okay, what do I need to multiply x squared by to give me 3x cubed? Well, you need to multiply 3x by it, so 3x times x squared is going to be 3x cubed. 3x times, so it's just 3x cubed. So now we're going to subtract, and so we have 0, and so this is something that you're going to bring down, which is going to be, so you have this negative x squared plus x minus 2 that you're bringing down. You don't have to put this 0 if you don't want to. And so what do I multiply x squared by to give me negative x squared? I'm going to have to multiply by negative 1. So negative 1 times x squared is negative x squared. And then you're going to change your signs. You're going to add down, and you're going to get 0 again. So you're going to bring down this x minus 2. That's going to have to be your remainder. And so then you're done. So that's how you would do it if you were going to do long division. Let's look at number 94. Number 94, it says we have 5x to power 4 minus x squared plus x minus 2, and we're dividing this by x squared plus 2. All right, so this one, it's going to be more complicated to try to do like the same kind of trick we were able to exploit on this one. The reason that was easy to do was because in the denominator we had a monomial, which is a polynomial that just has a single term. Here we have a binomial, so it's going to be more complicated. So let's just use long division. So we have 5x to power 4 minus x squared plus x minus 2. We're going to divide it by x squared plus 2. So x squared times 5x squared would give me x to power 4, or I'm sorry, 5x to power 4. So 5x squared times x squared is 5x to power 4. 5x squared times 2 is going to be 10x squared. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract, and I get 0x to power 4s, and I have negative 11x squareds. So now I'm going to bring the rest of this down, and I'm going to have plus x minus 2. So now what do I have to multiply x squared by to give me negative 11x squared? I need to multiply it by negative 11. So negative 11 times x squared is negative 11x squared. Negative 11 times 2 is going to be negative 22. Now you're going to change the signs, and you're going to add down. So this is 0x squareds, this is plus x, and then this is a plus 20, so I don't need this plus x. It's x plus 20. That's going to have to be a remainder. So that's done. I mean, you can write it out like I was doing before with the form, and it's important that you understand that, especially when you get to pre-cal and so forth, and later on even in this chapter when we're doing chapter 5. The point is for now we can just say that the quotient is 5x squared minus 11, and the remainder is x plus 20. Okay. I guess I can do one more. One of the things that I forgot to mention, in this problem it worked out, but really what I should have done is because I have 5x to the power 4, I should have, and then it jumps to an x squared, I should have wrote plus 0x cubed to hold the place for the x cubed, but when I multiplied, I didn't end up getting an x cubed term, so it worked out fine. Usually you're going to want to hold the place, so let me do another example, kind of one more here. This is number 96. Alright, so I want to divide 3x to the power 5 minus x squared plus x minus 2. These are all like plus x minus 2. It's funny. And I want to divide this by 3x cubed minus 1. Okay, 3x cubed minus 1. So let's go through this. This is going to be 3x to the power 5. And I'll write plus 0x to the power 4 plus 0x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 2. And I'm going to divide that by 3x cubed minus 1. You don't have to write ghost terms for the divisor, just for the dividend. So what do I need to multiply 3x cubed by to give me 3x to the power 5? Well, x squared. So x squared times 3x cubed is going to give me 3x to the power 5. And then x squared times negative 1 is going to give me a negative x squared. So now I'm going to change my signs and I'm going to add down, and I'm going to get 0, 0, 0, and 0. So this is all just 0, and then my remainder so far is going to be x minus 2. And I mean, now if I was to ask, well, what do I need to multiply 3x cubed by to give me x, it would be like 1 over 3x squared, and you're going to stop there. You don't want to have rational terms. So then it's just x squared, and the remainder here is going to be x minus 2. So the quotient is going to be x squared, and the remainder is x minus 2. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you guys. And we'll see you guys next time.